Hi, it's Samantha with Soap Essential, and I'm here today to talk about two important lessons that I have learned through tragic loss. So this past week has been very surreal for me because March 3rd, which was Friday, marks 2 years since my nephew's death. And I think back to that whole week with the time we spent in the hospital, first getting good news, then getting bad news, and knowing that the whole thing was just out of our hands. There was nothing we could do but just hope against hope that he was going to make it. But that was not ours to own. It was Tyler's. And he decided that he didn't want to be here anymore. And I really raged against that loss. Not understanding it, certainly not wanting it. For the first few weeks that followed, I would wake up with this weird experience thinking that I had some mulligan where I would get to start all over and there would be an opportunity for me to save him. But then that dark, horrible reality would sweep over me and I would realize that no, he's not here. And he will never be here with us like we are now. And that kind of pain is nothing like you've never experienced it if you haven't walked that path yourself. We can be compassionate and we can be loving and we can do our best to try to understand. But unless you really live through that yourself, you really don't understand what somebody else is going through until you've actually been there. And I've had more time than I care to or wanted to think about, the whole situation and things that happened. And there's two really important lessons that I have walked away with that, since his death. And I wanted to share them with you because someday they're going to come in, they'll be useful. They'll come in handy. I think the hardest part for all of us was that we had no idea how dark a place Tyler was, how bad a space he was in. And who would expect a varsity basketball player who was admired by his peers, loved by his family, and not interested in drugs or alcohol, that he would want to leave Earth permanently? That's just so hard to wrap your head around that, especially at the age of 17 when your whole life is before you. And this really haunts me. Resiliency is not an innate quality for everyone. And we knew Tyler had anxiousness, right? He would get anxious about things, but we didn't understand the depth or how severely some of these things were affecting him. And the signs were there. We didn't understand them. And not like now. And hindsight's 20/20, as they say. I would do things differently. Our whole family would do things differently. Rarely do you get second chances, which is why I wanted to share this with you today. And lesson number 1 is pay attention. Listen, watch, look. Look between and beyond the signs and the words, especially if behavior is erratic, different, or abnormal. Your radar just needs to be on high alert. People who suffer with anxiety and depression, they can do it with a smile on their face. You need to look people deeply in the eyes and really see beyond just looking them in the eyes. I mean, if I had have known, if anyone had have known that Tyler would choose death by suicide over, that was his only reason to escape whatever it was that he wanted to get away from him. If he would have chose that over anything else, we may have been able to intervene. We might have been able to do something. I believe with all my heart that Tyler would have lived through this, that he would have been able to move through this. There were forces against him. You know, things happen in life that don't always go your way, or they're the way that you like, right? And these, you know, the love of his brothers couldn't even keep him anchored to this earth. And this breaks my heart, because we didn't understand how bad it was. We didn't understand his internal struggle. So I tell you, be vigilant. Do not take for granted what you don't know or don't understand. Ask questions, offer help. But most of all, be compassionate and listen. And if there's no words to be spoken, just be silently there and supportive, because you could be saving a life. When his schoolmates received the news, they were shocked, bewildered, you know, surprised, because it was Tyler. His basketball teammates were devastated. There's this big fence on the high school grounds that they call Sophomore Hill, and they decorated it with flowers, cards, notes, ribbons written in TD12 with this high school picture. And it was just sweet and beautiful. And the cards and the notes talked about all kinds of things, of how, wow, you didn't know me, but I knew you. And every day I saw you in this hallway, and you always had this smile on your face, and it made me feel good. Or how he helped a kid in math class, and how important it was for him that day. Just these wonderful, uplifting stories about how Tyler had some positive impact on them. But the sad reality of this is that Tyler didn't know. He didn't know any of this. And at my sister's house, we were receiving cards and notes and posters that the basketball team had written, you know, about just what an awesome person Tyler was, with how he was always kind and loving and caring, and how considerate he was of people, and just the positive impact that Tyler had, you know, on them. And some of them shared very personal stories about how Tyler really helped them in a moment and a time when they really needed it. And I'll never forget, you know, what he did for them, or the type of person that he was, and the kindness that he always showed. And this brings me to my second lesson. And that is that Tyler had no idea, right, how people felt about him. He knew his family loved him, but he had no idea the depth of affection from strangers, from his peers, from his schoolmates, you know, from his friends. And all these cards and notes, they came too late. You know, Tyler's the one that needed to read them and needed to hear them. So instead, we read them and just wept. The bitterest tears shed are for words unsaid and deeds left undone. So you need to speak up about your affections for people and kindness that, you know, shown to you. Even if it's someone you don't know well, it's okay to say, hey, every time I see you in the hallway, you always got this big smile on your face. And I look for it now every day. And I just wanted to say thank you, because it really warms my heart. Or, gosh, thanks for helping me. I really needed help, and you were there to help me. You need to share that with people and tell them and express it. If a person has a positive effect on you, even if you don't know them, tell them how much it meant to you. Don't hold it in, because you could be saving a life. The community all came out and raised money. They received a ton of donations to set a cement bench at Stagecoach Park, which is across from the high school. And this right there at the basketball courts. And this is a place where Tyler and his basketball friends, his non-basketball friends would go over after school and shoot hoops and just play ball. And it's just this wonderful place of, of where they frequented, and it's just community, just such wonderful community. And out of my own grief, I made a soap in honor of Tyler, dedicated to Tyler. And it's entitled, "It's Good for My Happy." That's something that Tyler used to say all the time. Well, why do you want to do that, Tyler? It's good for my happy. Right? What a wonderful sentiment that is. If you've made it to the end of this, I thank you so much. And I hope that you will take this and that you will, when people show you affection or kindness or something that you might appreciate, tell them. Just be sure that they know. And I thank you again for your time today, and I will see you on the other side.